Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are setting up for the month of June in my reading journal. So excited to have you here. I am very apologetic at the same time that this is slightly delayed. I had every intention of trying to get these videos out before June hit. This will be going live in my time zone on the 2nd of June, just how my video schedule looks. But I am very apologetic that it's not out before then, but all the same, I hope you really like this setup. If you're new here, for the year of 2026, I've been using romance novels to sort of guide how I set up my design each month, using a core feature from it or features. And for the month of June, we are going to be using another Emily Henry book, and it is Book Lovers, and it's one of my absolute favorite reads. That is why I put it in the month of June, because if you watched my last video, you would already know, but June is my birthday month, and so I decided to go with 𝓤𝓼 and go with the books and coffee theme, because that's what I think of when I think of him, and also when I think of Nora. It is a fabulous book. It's not for everyone, but most people that I know who loves Emily Henry always rates that one as their highest book. I have to say that it's still my favorite of them all, but I did end up falling in love with Miles a little bit more from Funny Story. But overall, I was so glad that I decided to do 2 Emily Henry books in this 12-year romance reads series. So I have been getting a lot of comments over on Instagram recently about how spring-like, how soft and dreamy my themes have been recently, and little comments like, oh, this is perfect for spring. And I actually live in the southern hemisphere, so I'm not sure if I was just like subconsciously simulating myself to the northern hemisphere or if it was just lined up that way. But I finally have come back with a warmer autumnal type theme here, with the coffee and the browns and the books, you know, that kind of vibe. Unfortunately for me, it is now winter. We actually class winter starting at the 1st of, or every season at the 1st, not the 21st. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So we're already into winter, not autumn anymore, but better late than never. And I hope that you guys really like this one. I ended up having to do a lot of work myself in regards to making the stickers this time around. I already have some graphics that I purchased for last year for my main theme on my like Canva posts, my graphic posts on Instagram. You might see it actually on the banner as well on the YouTube channel. And so I decided that I would print them out, make them stickers instead. And I also used Canva to look for some coffee. And yeah, so I made my stickers this time round and used what I had. I didn't go out and purchase anything to make this because I already had the details in my folder. And I also found online just a picture of like coffee stained paper, which is what I've ripped up and put behind the design here. So you'll find that, yeah, this theme was very hodgepodge together. I'm really happy with it though. And I think that it is not my favorite of the year, but I'm glad that it's not my least favorite. June always ends up feeling like a very big pressure for me to get through, and I always feel like that theme is my least favorite. This year, it is definitely not going to be that. So I did end up doing my own headers and printing them out and tracing them in. That's what I'm doing right now. I cannot remember off the top of my head what this font is called, but I will have everything that I've used linked in the description below as much as possible. Obviously, if I already owned it, I don't remember where I got, I don't remember where I got some of those details from. So yeah, as best as I can, it'll all be in the description below. And I'm also just going to say now, before we get too far into the video, today I have been doing a lot of physical labor, which is obviously not great for my chronic fatigue. Long story short, I had a window fixed in my bedroom, which was fantastic, but they forgot to put up a dust barrier. And so there is now construction dust on literally everything in my room. So I've been panic cleaning, got all my books out today. That was my second priority. The first priority was getting my bed out. I'm now sleeping in the living room for the next few days. while I vacuum the walls, vacuum everything off, and then damp cloth everything to try and get as much dust away as possible. Obviously, with my health concerns, I have to be very careful with how this dust affects me. So I've been wearing a mask and everything like that. But I do feel like it's still gotten to me a little bit. So if I have to have moments where I pause and say, excuse me, that's just because, as you can hear, it's just feeling a little bit heavy in my chest right now. But I really want to get this up on the channel because I'm so proud of how it came together, and I've worked really, really hard on it. Plus, I also have like 2 to 3 other videos already set up ready for me to edit. It's been very productive recently, and you'll find out in my May wrap up just how many books I read over that month to see just how productive I've been. And I'm actually already wrapped up for May, which is the first time in ever actually that I've managed to wrap up before the new month started. Fantastic. And I highly recommend myself, future me, to do this in the future as well. I also came up with a new way of doing things, but like I said, I'm going to mention that in that video. Back to what we're doing here. Like I mentioned, I decided to do my own headers, and I absolutely love how it pops off the page. It is quite tedious though. That was probably the longest part of setting up for the month of June in this setup, was doing the headers. So that is the only header that you have on screen to watch me do. I decided not to film the rest of them. 1, because it would kill my batteries, and 2, I just felt like that one glimpse into it would be enough for you to see how it works. So onto the layering here. I really wanted this picture here, kind of felt like a coffee bookstore type vibe. Cafe bookstore. And obviously in the book lovers, there is not only a mention of a coffee shop quite a few times, but there's also the bookstore that Charlie runs, and I drink a lot in there, so I figured this gave off the vibes perfectly. Most of the quotes that I used in the setup are not my actual favorite quotes from the book. I went with ones that matched the vibe more. So the first one here is anything better than an iced coffee and a bookstore on a sunny day? And then once it goes back down, I'll read it again. I mean, aside from a hot coffee and a bookstore on a rainy day. So I thought that would be perfect to start, to give the image of what this month is about. And then I just framed it with some more stickers that I had printed out. Like I mentioned, some from Canva, some from my stockpile, from when I used to download a whole bunch of SVGs and digital files and stuff like that. I haven't been doing that for a longest time now. So it was nice to look through what I already had, because I always collect bookish things. And so once we're done with setting up around this frame, sort of just framing out this portion of the page, I am going to come in with some washi tape or PET lace tape again down the bottom there. I just felt like it was really quite empty on the right hand side, so I'm just going to add that on there. And I've set up just naturally for 16 books on here like I did in May. I do have to preface it that I need to slow down with my reading. I am now at the point where December is a little bit in jeopardy of having enough pages if I continue to read as I am. So I'm going to have to do tip-ins from now on, which isn't a big deal, but it has been a little bit stressful to realize that I have been using up more pages than I am actually allotting per month in this journal. And I don't want to end up using 2 journals for this, because I like to have it all in the one. But I did end up adding extra pages to the start of this book with the mindset that, I'll just, cut back on my pages. I'll figure something else out, and I haven't. So that's on me. But now that I'm being more page conscious, that will hopefully tide me through, and we'll get to the end of 2026 without fault, or at least I'm hoping so. So we're now onto the monthly view page here. So the calendar is now set up. I do apologize for the lack of start point on this page. There were a couple of times where I was so in the zone, had my headphones on, that I didn't hear the beep telling me that I had finished filming. So my camera always cuts out at 25 minutes or just before 25 minutes. And so then I have to turn it back on, which is normally fine because I normally hear it. And I'm also sort of kind of looking up to make sure that I'm aware of the time. But I was just so in the zone with this one that I did not. So there are a couple of instances when that happens. But if you're new here, left-hand side, the monthly view is where I track what I read each day. If I read a book for 5 days, but only actually have sessions on 3 of them, I'm only going to mark down 3, and it's just that kind of visual guide for me. And then I also put my arcs here because it makes sense to have it near a calendar, even though I don't track them on it. So that is what this is. And I've started putting the header books read on this middle portion. It is just the key for the monthly view. Perhaps I might stop doing that. I don't know when it happened, but it did, and it's working for now. And then I had a little bit of an issue trying to figure out how I wanted to decorate this page. It is probably the most disjointed of them all, just because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But in the end, I'm quite happy with how it's all sort of come together. There was a lot of decision making around what to put down, whether the coffee paper or, more books. And so I am pleased that I went with the coffee paper. But like I said, it does feel a little disjointed. There's another page that feels just ever so slightly off as well. But overall, I'm really, really happy with how this came all together. And it's one of my favorite journs that I've ever done. Just going to put this down the middle here as a border. Really love this book washi tape. It's so cute. I knew that I wanted to get it on the page as much as I possibly could. And once we have marked in the dots for the monthly view, we can move on to the functional spreads. And there's been a slight change there, so we'll talk about that when I flip over. I'm just going to grab a mild liner and highlight where I'm going to put the days of the week. So this is my highlighting color that I'm going to end up using on the reading log as well. And yeah, really happy with how simple this feels. I've been doing quite elaborate styles recently, and if you watch my next video, you see how I am trying to fill up all the space. I just wanted to go a little bit more simple this time around with June, mostly because I just feel quite run down. Obviously, after having such a productive month, I really wanted to just slow things down. Also, I'm very aware that a new game that I've been so excited for has come out, and I'm getting it for my birthday from my brother. It is Paralives. So I am very aware that when that hits my computer, I will probably disappear from reading for a bit and just build and build and build. I don't think I've shared on this channel that I'm hugely a big fan of building Sims houses. I don't necessarily play a lot of the live mode or anything like that, but I do definitely love to build. So yeah, I won't be reading as much, hopefully, over June. Fingers crossed, because last month was very excessive. So I am going to talk a little bit about this next portion, which is the functional section. And I have intentionally put one side shorter than the other. So the first one that I put down had a bit of a gap, and then this one here, I layered them right on top of each other. That was because on the left-hand side, once I cut this Dutch door, I don't want to have a lot of empty white space showing. And so I decided to do that because this is my first lines page, and I don't tend to fill up right to the edge on the right hand side sort of segments, so I'm hopeful this will balance out. I know it's slightly visually off, but it was a decision I made sort of in the moment. Perhaps I should have done it evenly, but for now that is how it ended up looking, and I'm really happy. I do come along with this ink pad in a minute, this lovely gold, and add it to the edge of the decorative cutaway on the Dutch door, because it doesn't really show up on paper just how pretty it is unless you put some sort of ink on top of it. And I really, really like how it looks when it stands off the page, just that little bit more. So if you're new here, first lines is literally where I put down the first line of every book I read, even if I don't finish it. The TBR section is where I'm going to put down my books for the month. And for the month of June, some of the core things sticking out to me is that I want to be reading some more books by authors that I really love, just sort of like as a treat to myself. That's what I should be doing all year round. But I hope you understand what I mean by that. It's just I'm going to reach for books that I've perhaps been putting off a little bit for arcs to get the time instead. So I'm going to pick up India Holton's new book, the third book in the book Love's Academic series. I've been waiting to read it for the longest time. And then I'm also going to finish The Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes by Tiffany Hunt. I started it in April. I have not had enough time to sit down and read it past 19%, but I'm absolutely loving it. So I think I'm going to love that a lot this month. I may do a reread of Agnes Aubert's because I got the audiobook earlier in the year and I haven't obviously listened to it, but I might hold off on that as well. I do have quite a lot of other little areas, and obviously if I'm going to try and slow down my reading, I need to be a bit more focused there too. I now belong to 3 book clubs. I normally had 2 up until this point. But I have recently joined one where we use our journals as part of being a member of the book club. So there's a new book to add there. And for one of the year-long readathons that I'm participating in, the genre theme is sci-fi, which is not something that I tend to gravitate towards. We do have a book club this month with a sci-fi read, and it is LGBTQ+. So that's very good for going into Pride Month with that focus. So yeah, I'm just a little bit all over the place. I actually haven't confirmed my TBR 100%. I know what's going to be on it for, like, obviously book club reads and little bits and bobs there. Actually, both of my book club reads are LGBTQ+ focused, so that's fantastic. And then I'm not sure about the new one, but yeah, lots of diverse reading, lots of fun reading, and hopefully get through some of the arcs that I do have that I need to finish. There are only 2 that need to be done in June. I have one that I'm bringing over from May, and yeah, so that's quite all right for me. Normally I've been doing like 6 or 7 just trying to catch up, and I've thankfully gotten to a point where I feel a little bit more confident. The other thing that I wanted to chat about, is that I did end up adding back in the subscription segment for June because I have resubscribed to Spotify. I was already having Spotify, Audible for a little bit, and also Kindle Unlimited. So we'll just see how that goes. I've only got them for 3 months at the moment, and then yeah, so I just want to have a spot for that because I did read 2 books from Kindle Unlimited last month. I had to put them down under the the library hires section. That's right. On the top here, I'm playing around with this coffee paper that I printed out, but I was running quite low on this particular sheet at this point. So as you can see, I'm going to cover up this little mistake that I made with another piece and layer it over top. Thankfully, it doesn't look too bad. However, the next piece I do add in, it doesn't blend as well. I think I end up messing up the line a little bit too much. And you may have seen that I've printed out a couple more quotes as well. So we've got 4 quotes now throughout the book. I know I read out the first one, but I will have them in the description below for those who like to read them there, because I do agree that sometimes fonts are hard to read on screen. So always happy to add that in there. And yeah, at this point I was admittedly running low on stickers as well. I was contemplating printing out some more. I was kind of sad that my coffees were all quite small. That was a mistake when I was planning out the stickers. It's really hard to sort of gauge what size everything's going to be. So yeah, it ended up being a little bit of a problem. So I did end up grabbing this sheet of, I think it's more of a library scene, to be honest, but it could pass as a bookstore. At least that's what I was telling myself when I was like, I need to fill the bottom of this page, but with what? So yeah, I do not stick that there. Do not fear. I do come back with that lovely book washi tape and another lace tape and put this quote down there instead, keeping it a little bit more simple, and getting those elements back in again from where I've used them already in this setup. I did wrap a little bit earlier than I was planning, so I do end up lifting that washi tape up to sort of center it a bit more. And then I also shave down the size of this lace tape here so it looks proportional with that washi tape. And yeah, I'm really, really pleased that there's enough room on this page for everything that needs to be there. Obviously, I also added in the subscription page because when I got to setting this up, I was like, hang on a minute. Is it really necessary to have just readathons on one page by itself or a massive library list? So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to balance it out a little bit again and fix that error in my planning ways. But now we're going to move on to the reading log, and I think we need to address the big elephant in the room at this point. I must have knocked my rig again, and I also thought I was being quite clever by leaning off to the side at this point, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine, no one will see me. Instead, you are now seeing my nose, my glasses, my forehead, literally everything is just peeking in, and at this point, I'm just going to embrace it. This is the footage I have. I'm not going to cut out the footage so you miss this portion of me setting it up. I know it's just lines, but I have heard you well and clear that you mostly want to see everything, and aside from me cutting out the tedious amount of tracing and then recoloring in the headers, I've kept everything else in except for when the camera has either turned off early or I've forgotten to push record again. So yeah, I do apologize for that, but I think most of you now who have been on the channel long enough have come to sort of expect that from me. Maybe it's a part of my charm. At least I'm trying to tell myself that. I really don't understand how I can always get that wrong, but it is what it is. So I'm just trying to line up this decorative paper here that I printed out on the sticker paper. I had two sheets, so they were on one full sheet, but I had two different images, and this one image I knew I wanted to use for the header of the reading log, and so I just cut away at it with the decorative trimmer, and I really love that. It's been so good and so handy to have that trimmer from 𝓬𝓱𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓮. I've been using it all the time, but it did mean that I had to be a little bit careful with how I placed it because that was all I had of that particular piece. I was bare bones at this point. I'd run out of stickers, I'd run out of everything, and I was slowly getting to the point where I was running out of steam as well. So I'm glad that we were onto the last page at this point, and I'm also going to be fully transparent and say that I'm glad that we're onto the last page for this narration as well. I am planning on going to bed after this. Perhaps I will read a little bit of an arc. I'm reading Behind Five Willows by, is it Jane Her? Of course it doesn't show up on my screen right now. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I've only just started it. It's kind of like a K-drama. It's got the vibes. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And then, yeah, I might read a little bit of that, or I might just go straight to sleep because I am shattered. And I've got another 2, maybe 3 days ahead of me of just really like knuckling down and trying to get this room back up to code for me to sleep in without wearing a mask. Yeah, a little bit frustrating, but I guess it was an easy mistake to do as well. So yeah, back to the reading log here, using the mild liner to highlight where I'm going to put the headers. Really liked adding in this color on the calendar view, so I decided I would bring it back here as well. And at this point of the setup, I actually hadn't used any other color, so I decided that I would try and find some, and I thought that this green would look really lovely. It kind of makes me think of the emerald color green books that you see like in vintage photos, you know, the typical red, navy, green, brown, those type of book colors. So that's what I sort of leant towards with this particular pen. And I think I've also added in a blue as well. So I'm really happy to go ahead with June now. It's very much so ready for me to use as well. I've taken all my photos. I've got everything done. I'm so ahead of my schedule for the once, except for getting this video out on the channel for you all earlier than June. But it just feels weird to have all of this set up and be, ready to go. How productive of me. Anyway, we're now at the point where I'm just going to stick down the 5-star stickers, and then we'll go into the final flip through after putting on the June tab as well. But let me know in the comments below if you had any 5-star reads over May. What was your favorite read or your least favorite read? I'd love to hear in the comments about your reading for May. And if you're well, if there's anything interesting happening in your life right now, and I'll be happy to chat with you there. And yeah, I'm really excited for the next few videos. There's actually going to be one video before the May wrap up. I know I said I'm done and ready to go, which I am, but I actually filmed in between that as well. And it's just going to be setting up for that because I hadn't been updating my journal. So it's just going to be like a fun little journal with me session, getting ready to set up for May. Wrap up May. So here we are going into the final flip through. There goes my phone. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling. And I will see you in that fun journal with me video coming on Saturday. If all things go well, it's time for me to go. Bye, everyone.